What's up, YouTube? I'm Vaughn, and this is the Gear channel where we discuss collectibles, hobbies, competitive games from tabletop to video games. And today we are reviewing my new COD deck 2.0 because there has been a lot of changes from new banlist to even the newest set of Battle of Chaos. And not just that we topped one tournament, we also topped another one. So two tournaments back to back. They were both winnable. Now, sadly, we did lose one, so our score was X-1 and it was all the same deck that we lost to. So we lost twice, pretty much to Flunderies, and now they were both two different situations, like how we lost. The first tournament that I lost to Flunderies, it was game one, destroyed them. Hand loop negates everything perfect. Game two, I bricked so hard. I drew into everything that I sided with no extenders or starters, so I had to scoop to game three. And then game three, Brick the Get wasn't really good, and the only thing that I could do was I could potentially combo if I did not have to deal with any interruptions. If he didn't have any hand traps, then we were golden. But he did have an Ash and an Imperm, so that really crippled it even more. So the only play I could have done was pretty much make Lambda with a Gamma and pass. That was pretty much the only thing. And then for the second tournament, when we lost to Ponderies. Now he starts first with Dimension Shifter, which hurts a lot in this deck. And then game two, he went and drew into Dimension Shifter again. So it's pretty much impossible to play around Dimension Shifter because one thing that could actually hit the deck is if you sign in cards or play hand traps that actually hits all three decks. So pretty much you have to look at the card deck as three decks, not just one. So if you're planning to side against it, you want to side something that could actually hit all three. So like Dimension Shifter is definitely a good card to actually hit all three deck. Another one is actually Drawing Lockbird. But a lot of people were thinking, oh, for like Artifact Lancia. Well, the thing is that yes, Artifact Lancia hits the Chaos engine, but you still have the Ogdoadics and you still have the Dragon Link engine as well. So when people actually assume that Artifact Lancia is going to harm me, it doesn't. I just go full out. And other decks that we played against was Sword Souls. We also played against like Virtual World, Sky Striker, and then there was also a PK as well. There was also what was the other deck as well? Dogma Invoke with Shadol. So yes, we beat Shadol Winda, and we're definitely going to show you how to deal with Winda. It's pretty much only one out to beat Winda if we're not including the side. And today's video, we're not including the side because I am planning of changing it because I want to focus more on Dimension Shifter. So pretty much, there's not much that actually really hurts the deck besides Droll and Dimension Shifter. And Dimension Shifter completely cripples it. At least Droll, there is some plays that you can do. So I was thinking for the side, maybe switching it up, per Call by the Gray, per the what do you call cross outs with dimension shifters. So put two dimension shifters and three cross out just so I could really hit that dimension shifter so we could just pull out combo because it's pretty much just that because we played through like an opponent having Nib, Ash, Ghost Out, and Veiler, and we still won very easily. So it doesn't have an issue against a lot of the hand traps. Just really those two specific hand traps pretty much shuts down the deck completely, but I'm happy to do two tournaments and only losing once each. Now we did get some cool things like this mouse, which is pretty cool. Now we also got some OTS packs as well and some Battle of Chaos packs as well. So definitely, I will show you where I pulled in the LTS, and you guys were most likely last. Now, before we start, friendly reminder to definitely like and subscribe, and especially subscribe if you guys want to enter in our giveaways. If you're not familiar with our giveaways, as soon as we hit 700 subscribers, we're doing a giveaway of the Field Center of the Evil Twins, and then 800, we have the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then last, we have the big giveaway that we're going to be doing as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, which is pretty soon. So everything's working out pretty fine. So I kind of enjoyed it, and we're moving up quite fast, I find. So let's start. So we're going to start with the only hand trap that we're going to be playing in this deck, and that is the Gamma engine with the one driver. So three Gamma, one driver, and that's pretty much the only hand trap that we need to play because, like I said, there's not really a lot of hand traps to be really scared of, and Gamma is just it's more of an extra extender, not really necessary use it as like an interruption or as a counter to for us to actually play more. It's just as an extender. So if it does work, perfect. If it doesn't, it's all good. So that's why it's not really necessary to play more hand chess, and especially that we could even when our opponent establishes a board, we are still able to play through it. So we're going to start with the Chaos Engine, which is three Chaos Spaces. Then we have the one Omni, one Starlies, one White Dragon, one Black Dragon, one Chaos Valkyrie. And let me tell you, Chaos Valkyrie is probably the best Chaos card out of all this because if you banish it, you can send Snow, you can send Chaos Nephis. Like, yes, I know you cannot activate their effects in the graveyard, but still, you could actually still like sending a Snow like at the end of your turn, and then on your opponent's turn is just a free interruption. So you can actually establish a lot for follow-up plays or making interruptions for your opponent's next turn. And also, like even though the effects are negated, there is still a lot of cards that have inherent summons, so you can still potentially still summon them. So like if we send a Chaos Levineer and we use Starlies to return it to hand, we could still special summon Chaos Levinia. The only thing that we can't do is use its effect, but that's completely fine. We could still use it as a link material, XYZ, even tribute materials for the Ogdoadic. So there is a lot of plays that you could do with this. I feel like one is good. You don't really necessarily need to play two. Then we have the new one, Chaos Nephis, which is so good. So, if you guys are not familiar with this, okay, while it's in the hand or the graveyard, if a card on the field is destroyed, so it doesn't even have to be your card, it could be your opponent's card. So, if any card is destroyed, so spell trap, monsters, whatever, you could banish a light or dark from the graveyard, special summon it, and when he special summons, so that's a second effect. So it doesn't even have to get that effect by special summoning by his own effect. If he special summon, banish one card on your opponent's side of the field and two in the graveyard. Now let me tell you, with the Ogdoadic like curse that lets your opponent special summons a monster on the field, it's very most likely that if you're starting first, you'll still be able to use these effects. So if there's anything that's harmful in your opponent's graveyard that they could use on their turn, you could definitely banish it, plus wherever monster that they decide to special summon with. But there's actually a lot of cool combos. So with the rockets, okay, this is where our rockets are even can potentially be an interruption is because you can actually pop on your opponent's turn to special summon another rocket from your deck. So if you do that, you special summon Chaos Nephis and you get a free interruption. So it made that leaving specific cards on the board used to be really bad and would be a bad like way to end your turn. But now those cards are considered extra interruption just because of this. And it's level 8 as well, so you could definitely XYZ with it and make some bigger guys. So then we have the Chaos Creator, an amazing extender. And then finally we have Chaos Dragon Levineer. Now for the reptiles, we have three Snake Rains, three Nayas, three Nunus, two Colts, which is such an amazing card. And I'm still waiting for the day that I have two of them in my hand so I can special summon both. That would just be amazing. Then we have two Kage Tokage. Now, trust me about this. Kage Tokage is a chain block. It chain blocks your opponent a lot. So if you have, it's a trigger effect. So if you have, let's say, even Naya, if you decide to normal summon Naya, Naya would be chain link 1. Kage to Kage would be chain link 2. So your opponent cannot even ask your Naya. And there's other cards as well that we have for abilities as well that's on the normal summon. So this actually is an amazing chain block. And even if it's not being used as a chain block, it's still a free level 4 that you could use as an XYZ material, link material. The only thing that you can't use it for is a synchro material, which is not really an issue. Then we have our one danger, or one light serpent, one Night Sword Serpent, which is an amazing card because this allows us to special summon it freely, and there's a lot of ways to actually special summon it, except by cost. So we do have Snake Rain, which is amazing, but also we do have the new Ogdoadic spell card that could definitely full of shit for free, bring it back. But there's actually other ways as well, because if it's sent to the grave by a card effect, you could potentially, if it's already on the field, if you use your rocket, you could bring it back. If it's in your hand and you special summon Omni, you could discard it because it discards for an effect, not for the cost. So it will actually still trigger. So there's many ways to actually special summon this guy. So it's quite good. Then we have one Zoro, one Flogos. Now Flogos is the card I was mentioning that gets rid of Winda. When your opponent has Winda, this is usually the card that outs it all the time. So as soon as you get Flogos, you definitely win the game. So you could just cross into Winda. There you go. Or if you decide to tribute it for a summon or other ways to get rid of it, you can definitely get rid of that Winda. So there's many ways. Usually I would actually just crash into the Winda because his effect is going to be applied in the damn steps. So there's not many cards that could be chained to it. So that is probably one of the best plays to get rid of Winda. Then we have Curse, our amazing guy. We have one queen, one king, and one overlord. Now, overlord is the one that it's not necessary to play. Like, to be very honest, in this build, you don't really need to play it. I still play it because there are some specific situations that it is needed and could definitely win the game, but you could get away for not playing it because it doesn't add to the deck, so it doesn't really blend with a lot of the combos with it. So it's just for a specific situation. If you're really stuck, you could go bring it and then just nuke everything. Then we have one Water Lily, because obviously, and one Serpent Strike, which is the new card that is so good because what it does is quite simple. So if your opponent has a monster that is sent to the graveyard, you list a reptile from your deck to the graveyard for free, just like that. So it's really good. As soon as you draw into this, okay, this should be your first card that you play automatically. Now, as soon as you play it, then you don't really care too much about cards like Ash or Hand Traps because you're just going plus off it. So if you guys do draw into it or build this deck, remember that this should always be the first card that you should play at all times. And the second effect is you can send a monster from the field or hand to the graveyard to special summon a reptile from your graveyard with a different attribute. Now that is a cost, so it is a cost to send and target. So they're like Night Sword Serpent won't get the effect, but definitely there is a lot of cards that would, and it's such an amazing card. I love it so much, and it changes a lot, especially that if you already drew into Water Lily, now you have another target to actually search with Naya. Well, before you were pretty much screwed unless if you played two Water Lilies, which was not too useful, I would say. Now we're going into the Dragons, which is three Quick Launch, three Rocket Tracer, which is an amazing card and is the one that I told you with Chaos Nephis that could definitely become an interruption because in some situations, yes, in combos, it were might be left on the field because maybe you were making hot red and you have other negates as well. So this thing was just left like this as a little bonus, which was not so useful. But since Chaos Nephis, this is actually extremely useful because now Rocket Tracer becomes an interruption. So you can actually use the effect, destroy himself, special summon, and then Chaos Nephis will trigger, special summon, and banish. Then we have two Rechargers. Now, I was playing the other one, but Recharger is really good because you have to remember one thing about Recharger. His effect that when a dark monster that was supposed to summon from the extra deck, is destroyed. You can send this from your hand to special summon. Now, it doesn't special summon a dragon or a rocket or even the monster that was destroyed. It special summons any dark monster. So pretty much you can special summon a lot of other monsters as well. So even your Ogdoadic, you can special summon them as well. You can special summon depending on which chaos monster. If it was already properly summoned, you can actually do that again. You can special summon other Dark Link, XYZ, or even Synchros. So there's actually a lot of good plays with rechargers. So that's why it's at 2. Then we have our one Rocket Synchron, and we have abs because obviously get that free rockets. Then we have the newest one, which is the Strudel, since it's no longer banned, and this thing is just amazing. It has so much potential that it's not even funny. Like if we actually target like okay, usually target level 4, okay, it becomes level 3. Some of you might be like, oh, but there's no level 7 synchros or anything. It doesn't matter. Since it's level 3, you can actually link it for LP or Striker Dragon. There's a lot of plays that you can actually do with this is amazing. And also if you target like Light Serpent or the Danger, it does become level 4. And there's just so much potential with this card that is just insane. And even 4,000 is really not a lot if you're actually going to either OTK your opponent or hand loop them and make negates. It's pretty free. And I like it. Maybe if you're close on time, because that's the issue with the deck, is that the combos are extremely long, and if you guys want me to do a separate combo tutorial video, I would definitely do it. I would say this video would need at least 20 likes to definitely do that tutorial, but it definitely needs a separate video because there is multiple different combos to do, and one of the best ways to get really prepared for this deck is you have to be really good with Dragon Links first and then start playing this because a lot of the combos are very similar to Dragon Links. But I'm definitely down. If this video gets at least 20 likes, I'll definitely do a combo tutorial of this deck. Then we have Darkest Diabolus, which is amazing because we can supposed to summon it for free many times, and also we can handle per opponent, which is quite good. Then we have one Boot Launch, one Dragon Ravine. Then our next unbanned card, Fairy Tale Snow, which is so good because usually we already like end our turn with like 30 cards in the grave. Now with Fairy Tale Snow, we could literally like even on my turn, there's many times that like I spell summon it twice, still have a full graveyard, use it as synchro materials, link materials, and then I still have a lot more cards in the graveyard, so I could use it as an interruption. So it's so good. Then we have because now we're just doing the extra extender cards that's not really specific for a deck in it. So we have Armageddon Knight. Now Armageddon Knight is quite good because it does create it can be a extender or it can create follow-up plays for next turn or create interruptions for opponent's turn. So Armageddon is really good, and especially with Kage Tokage, you could definitely chain block with it. So it's a very good card, Armageddon Knight. Then and we have other ways as well that we could actually special summon it that you're going to see in a minute. Then we have one for one, so this could be used for the Chaos stuff or even the Dragon Link as well. Then we have one Monster Reborn, which is obviously. We have one Foolish Burial, and then the most shocking one is Paw of Desires. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, isn't Paw of Desires can cripple your deck very easy? It's like, no, because the choices of the card. So there's actually like strategy behind this deck. There's actually it's not like all three decks put together. It's actually a lot of the cards are ones that are very similar to the other cards. So if I play Pot of Desires and I hit one card that I'm only playing one of, that is okay because I have other cards in the deck that does the exact similar thing, so I can still get into towards my combos of building negates or hand looping. So Pot of Desires really does not affect the deck at all. And honestly, putting it at one I would actually still play at one, even if it was at three. I would actually still play at one because it actually shows the most potential, and you don't really want too many spell cards in the deck. So with all the millings and stuff that we're going to do, you're going definitely want a short amount of cards. And a lot of our cards that we do play, you can only use once that turn, and it's a hard once per turn. So that's why there's a lot of one of many cards, just so we can't get stuck or have multiples that we can't use. And finally, our last card that we have is one Phantom Knight. So this card is quite good because you could actually chain it with Nunu. So if you actually set it and you have Nunu in your graveyard, you could go activate Nunu 1, chain link 1, and chain your Phantom Knight as chain link 2. So now you have two level 4 monsters. So there's actually a lot of combos that you could do. Even quick launch you could do with Nunu as well. Also, look how amazing these new sleeves are. So nice. The Dragon Shield. So that is done. Now let's get into the extra deck. So the extra deck starting first we have is our one Striker Dragon, one Pitsy, one Ramenus. So definitely amazing cards. Then we have our Lambda, which is so good and it's so necessary, especially with Gamma, because it just creates another interruption and negate. So you have to play this. And also the fact that we don't really play any tokens or anything and it's just two monsters is perfect. That means you could always pretty much link all the time and you don't get stuck in a very specific situation. So I love Lambda. Then we have Heroic Steel, which is amazing. And honestly, I use it more to for the tribute. I use it more to tribute to special summoning dragon than usually leave it on the field to have a little interruption on my opponent. So it really depends what I have, but it's very rare that I would actually just leave it on the board like that. Then we have Skull because Saruja, amazing, and it does make a very good combo with Guard Dragon and Pitsy as well. And that's it for the links. Now for the XYZs, we have two King of the Pharaoh Imps, because it's such an amazing card. Then we have the newest, the Zombie Vampire. Now I prefer its OCG name, Undead Vampire. A lot cooler, Zombie Vampire. I'm like, why not? Now this is the game changer of all game changers. So when you make Chaos Ruler, oh, it's so good because Chaos Ruler mills for 5, get to add whatever. But then you XYZ with this, so you can actually usually you XYZ Chaos Ruler with Curse, okay, the Ogdoadic, to make him, because they're both level 8, and then you use his effect to mill another 4, and guess what? You just milled 9 cards for free, and this is amazing. And also, the 4 cards that you mill, because it's you and your opponent that mills, okay? You get to spell summon 1. So it's also another extender. So you have Chaos Ruler that mills 5, adds 1, then you make this that mills 4 and special summons 1. It's amazing, and it's a big game changer, and it's rank 8, and as you saw, all our big guys that we have besides Overlord is all rank 8, so level 8. So it's amazing. Then we have our newest one that we decided to put. That's not a new card. Is Lancelot. So Lancelot is one that you have to be very careful with because so it's two level 8 monsters. Now this has a mandatory effect that when a spell, trap, or monster effect activated, it detaches and negates. Now that's mandatory. Now the thing that you have to be careful is that it's not saying when your opponent activates them, it's whoever activates it has to negate. So you have to be careful on your cards. So usually this you will make it as the very last card. So let's say a lot of my combos I did was Omega and then I make Lambda, okay? I will use the Omega effect first, okay? Then Lambda triggers as soon as it vanishes. So at the end phase, it's going search. Then I make this, so there was nothing that was interrupted. Now, very good negate, but also his other effect is quite good. So because they only negate other cards, so not his. So he could attack directly, and he's 2000 attack. And now, while he has XYZ materials, attack directly, his third effect is if he deals damage to your opponent, you could destroy one card on your opponent's field. So I believe it is, let's see, target one face-up monster, yeah, and destroy it. So it's actually quite good because even let's say you're hitting into time or anything, you go make count, battle phase, attack directly, 2000, direct, done. It's amazing. Plus, in the damage step, you can actually still pop a card, so it's amazing. Then our final XYZ that we have is AA Zeus. Now, it doesn't come up too many times, and the majority of the time that it does come up is if there's too many interruptions and that we are just left with or XYZ, that's when it really comes out. So it's very much in that specific situation, and it's very rare that I do summon it, but when it does, it's amazing. Next, we have our synchros, which is Cyphering Lord Omega, because definitely hand loops, and also you can create negates with the Lambda. We have our Chaos Ruler, our board that is so good. And then the last level 8 we have is Savage Dragon. And then finally we have the Hot Red Dragon. Now definitely these synchros are mandatory in this deck, but so good. There's so many times I want, and Chaos Ruler with the Zombie Vampire is just amazing. And that's it for a COD deck. Now if you guys enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe, and especially subscribe if you guys want to enter in our giveaways. And if you guys want a sneak peek of future products we're planning to review on the channel, you can follow me on my Instagram, VaughnGear. I'm Vaughn, and this was the Gear Channel.